Hello. On this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about input function, and that's the function that you use when you want to get input from the user. The most important thing to remember about the input function is that no matter what, it always returns a string. So even if you enter a number, it will get you a string back. So let's take a look on the code and I'll explain more about that. So let's say that here I have a variable called name, and I want to get the user to type his or her name and to store on the variable. So for that, I'm going to use a function called input. So the input function waits for the user to type something and then returns back to you. And then in this case, I'm assigning that to a variable called name. And then for the next line, I'm going to print this name. So I'm going to run the program now. And if you look right here, the cursor is waiting for you to type something. And then once you press enter, it prints the name Jane. So let's go one step further here. Whenever you run this program, the program waits for the user to type something, but the user doesn't know what to type. So to solve this problem, the input function takes a parameter, and the parameter is a string that it can use to prompt the user. So if I run this program again, now I have a friendly message here to enter your name. I'm going to type Jane, press enter, and now it enters Jane. So now let's take a look on the data type of the variable name, which is what the input returned. So I'm going to run the program again. And it prints here the data type, which is a string. Instead of name, let's ask the user to enter an age. So I'm going to run the program again. And then it asks for the age. I'm going to type 21, press enter. And the data type is still string. So even though you enter 21, the data type is a string. But I don't want a string here. I want an integer because I want the ability to do mathematical calculation with this thing. So right here, if I want to add 1 to the age, for example, it will give me an error because age is a string. And if I want to try to add 1 to a string, it gives me an error. So right here it says line 7, you have a problem. And just to make it easier to find where line 7 is, I'm going to change the settings to show the line numbers. So I'll click apply. Okay. And I'm going to have to restart the IDLE. And now I have the line numbers. So it pretty much says here, line 7, you have a problem. And the problem is that I'm trying to do a mathematical calculation with a string. So to solve this problem, you need to convert this string into an integer. So to do that, I'm going to convert that and assign to age again. So the line number 5, I convert the string age into an integer and I save it back to the same string. And this string now becomes a integer. So if I run this code, I want to enter the age, 21, then it prints 21 and shows that the class is actually integer. And finally here, it does the mathematical calculation. So I'm going to print that right after it shows the data type so we can make sure that they actually add 1. So I'm going to run one more time. I'm going to type 22 this time. Then it prints 22. It confirms that the class is integer. In other words, the data type is integer. And it does the calculation and it adds 1. So I can do the same thing. And this time I'm going to put a temperature, because the temperature in this case would be a float. But instead of converting to integer right here on line number 5, I'm going to convert that to float. So now I'm going to ask the user for a temperature, then I convert to a float, then I print the float, and then I can add something. I'm going to add 1.5 in this time here because it's a float. And then I'm going to show the data type of that variable, which better be float. So I'm going to run this thing. So the temperature right now is going to be 10.5 or 10.6. Press enter, 10.6, and then it shows yes, you have a float, and then it adds 1.5, you end up with 12.1. So the same thing is with any other variable. Every time you get a variable from the user, you will get a string only. And then if you're happy with the string, just use it as is. If you need to convert to something else, then you have to do the conversion yourself. Alright, so that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. This is easy and you can do it.